6 new income producing properties hit the South Florida market today. Let's check them out, see which ones can make you money, which ones are stinkers. All right, that being said, the interest rates that we're going to be using to analyze the property is 6.30, and that is based off of the Federal Reserve's average 30-year mortgage average in the United States, right? So 30-year fixed rate mortgage average in the US. It's always a mouthful. So anyway, you can see it here, guys, right? Federal Reserve of St. Louis, right? Fred. You could see like we were basically on this nice little downward path. Then Iran happened, right? And then it went down for like 3 weeks straight. And this last week, it started going up again. So with that being said, we're going to use that, to our advantage, because right now, higher interest rates means less buyers. Less buyers means sellers that are willing to negotiate a little bit more. Okay. So next thing that we look at is the market. What does the actual market in South Florida actually look like? And you can see here, this is the realtor dashboard. You can see that in the last 7 days, and this is as of right now, right? In the last 7 days, 1,897 homes hit the market. And in the same amount of time, 1,957 homes saw a price decrease, right? So a little bit more houses actually seeing price decreases than we are actually even seeing houses come onto the market. And what does that mean for you? It means that if you're a buyer, you're well positioned, right? Because you're going to be able to come in here and know that of every single home that hits the market, the chances that you could actually get a price decrease on that is pretty freaking high. Okay, most people are overpricing their homes right now, and that's not just for single family homes. That's for duplexes, residential multifamilies as well. All right, and I mean, being Miami, any property that you see that's commercial multifamily on the MLS, it's 100% overpriced. I haven't come across one that's like, oh, this is great. So that being said, guys, let's take a look at the 6 properties that hit the market today. We're going to come down here to new multis. All right, and we are going to sort these by price per square foot. Hopefully they are reasonable. All right. And 3 of them are reasonable. I would say that 4 of them are probably not, but you never know. There could be errors here in the listing, and so it makes it so that it could, we could be surprised. So, all right, the first one we're gonna look at is a triplex in Broward County. It's selling for $840,000. Okay. Taxes, they're saying that they're paying $11,618 a year in taxes. Square feet, it's small, 1,453 square feet. All right, so let's hope that there's some error here. They're saying that they're only collecting $4,300 a month in rent here. Guys, and if you know the 1% rule, we're looking at this property makes at least 1% of the cost of it. All right, and 1% of $840,000 is going to be $8,400. And so if we're only collecting $4,300, we're about half of what we need to do, right? Which is that 0.51% of the 1% rule. So it's not looking very hot, but let's look at the quality. Let's see if there's maybe an error in the listing again that makes this deal it's while. So box ACs, I don't like it. Look at the baseboards already. Like there's some damage there. All right. Tiny little kitchen. Okay. Tiny little shower. I mean, it's a fourplex, so you get what you expect. But it kind of has the feel of like a single family home that got chopped. I might be wrong, but we'll take a look now at the actual listing. Okay. All right. So there's that. Let's take a look at the actual guts of this deal. All right. Income producing triplex in a large lot, almost 12,000 square feet. Fast aging area in the heart of Oakland Park. Let's take a look at the actual county records for this. And yeah, it's multifamily. Okay. An opportunity zone. And it's a triplex, legit. Okay, cool. What information do they tell us? All right, so they tell us there's a studio. The studio runs for $1,150. Then they tell us that there's a 1-1, it runs for $1,200. And then they say that there's a 2-1, and the 2-1 runs for $1,950. Okay, all these prices look off the bat just like already pretty fair, right? I would say it passes the rent check for this property. Now, given the quality of the property, right? Let's go here and look at the medians. The medians for a 1-1 is $1,600. He's getting $1,200 for his, okay? And then the median for a 2-1 is $1,960, and he's getting almost exactly that. So there might be a little bit of room to play with a 1-bedroom, increasing the price there closer to the median. I think that for a studio, the one studio for 1150 makes sense. So let's write this information down, guys. And just if you guys don't know, what we look at here is going to be price. We're going to look at type of a unit, location, okay, the rents as they are, rents as is, and then the returns as they are. Then the possible rent that we're going to be able to collect if we come in here. Maybe they're under market, so we just need to bring them up to market. We want to know the properties in some sort of distress that would help us negotiate the price even further down. What's a realistic price reduction? And lastly, we're going to see what the best possible returns are going to be. All right. And so I just put this information, literally, like I'm doing this with you guys right now. And this is how I sort the good properties from the bad properties. Okay. And then if it makes sense, then I do more due diligence. Okay. But everything that I'm doing right now with you guys is going to be like the first step in getting this done. So there's that. All right. So this property, right? Back to this information, 840K. It's a triplex. It's in Broward. The rents as they are $4,300. The returns as they are, guys, is going to be 5.7%. Okay. Now the possible rents that I think that we could get for this is, if he's renting out this for basically the median price, I think that you could at least get $1,500 for this, right? Which would, increase it a little bit. And I think that there's a good possibility of getting a price reduction on this eventually, probably not today, the first day, but at least of 10%, close to 10%. So that would bring us down to basically, $760,000, $760,000, right? And if we're able to get that, right, down to 760, then what does this property look like? It would still be a 6.8% return, right? Give me 1 second, guys. Drop my pen. Oh, I have another one here. 6.8% return on investment. It's just not worth it, right? Because then you got to negotiate this guy way further down, right? I think that for this property to make sense, you would need to get into the 500s, where I don't think that this guy would ever go. And for that's exactly the reason that, $4,600 in rent. It doesn't look like it's in some sort of distress. The realistic price decrease is going to be about 80K, right? And then at that point, the best return is going to be a 6.8. And so, you're way better off just being in the S&P. So for that reason, discard this one. Okay, next up, we're in Delray Beach. Delray. All right, I like that area. All right, but this property is priced really high. So we're going to have to see if the rents make sense. Okay, $1.35 million duplex. They're currently paying $3,563 a year in taxes. But guys, this is going to be information that for you is really important, because if they're selling this for $1.3 million and they're only paying less than $4,000 a year in taxes, you better believe that taxes will be going up for you. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, next. Square feet wise, 2,676 square feet. It's not small, right? It's a good sized duplex. Let's look at the quality of the property. So it's a good area, but, right, you're right off the intercoastal, and so you probably have like a elevated flood risk here. So you might pay a little bit more on flood insurance, but it looks like it's a good area. So we're gonna keep looking. All right, I like this. It's got a little roundabout. The property could use some help. You can see that like it's got all this like sandy, like spotty, like the grass doesn't grow, but the grass grows everywhere else. So like, why couldn't it grow there, right? The roof looks new, which I like. It has a pool in the back that looks like it needs help. All right, so it looks a little, disheveled. But the property is in a great location. Let's see how much this property could actually create for you. All right. So it's 222s. That's what they're saying, right? Versatile property consists of 2 units totaling 2,676 square feet with 4 full baths. Recent upgrades include AC, yada, 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 a newer pool. All right. So long story short, it's got 2 22s. All right. Now in Broward County, a 2-2, guys. Let's go up here. They don't tell us how much they're renting them out for, so we'll do a quick rent check ourselves. In Broward County, a 2-1 rents for $1,960, maximum $3,000. I think for a 2-2 in a good area, large with a pool, even if you're sharing it, I think that $3,000 would make sense for a 2-2. But unfortunately, that even if we could get that, this would be way below the even 50% of the 1% rule, right? At 0.44%, all right? 0.44%. So we're not close to the 1% that we're looking for. This wouldn't even pay your mortgage, even if you put down 25% down payment using a DSCR loan, right? So for that reason, guys, this property right now, right, 1.35 duplex in Broward, probably could get you about $6,000. Could get you $6,000. The way that it currently is with the pool, you could probably rent it out for $2,500 a piece. So you could probably get $5,000. At $6,000, the returns are, and we see it right here, best 6.1. But if you just buy it as is and just like try to rent it the way it is really quick with that dirty pool, you probably get $5,000, and at that point the return is of 5.2%. So another property that looks, well, let's see, what can we negotiate? We could probably negotiate, I think probably close to $150,000 off this price. So I think that this guy would actually walk away with 1.2. Okay, and if he could walk away with 1.2, right, then and you could get $6,000. Then the best possible return you get here actually is a 6.9, not a 6.1. But that would mean that you negotiate down 150K and you increase the rents to probably the maximum. So for that reason, it doesn't make sense either way. So we're going to go ahead and discard this. All right, guys, we're down to our top 3, I believe. No, 4. Oh yeah, we've only analyzed 2. All right, internet's kind of crapping out on us. Okay. All right, let me just start writing some stuff down here, guys. So this is a $1.3 million. Oh, now I can't even see that. And this is just what happens when you do things live. Anytime now, internet. Anytime. Okay, there we go. So it's a 1.35. Yeah, it's another 1.35. This one's a fourplex. It's in Miami Dade, okay? And the rents as they are right now appear to be $8,900. All right, let's put this up on the calculator before the internet totally fails. $1.35 million. They're currently paying $13,567 a year in taxes. Square feet, 3,204 square feet. Let's take a look at the rents. They're saying that they're collecting $8,900. And if that's the case, guys, we're better than we were before, right? It's not a complete, it's not less than half of the 1% rule, but it's only 0.66%, all right? 0.66%. We're looking for 1%. That'd be ideal. Let's look at the quality of the product, and then we can see what we could do with this, all right? So right next to the highway, usually you don't want to have that. It's going to be loud. Your tenants are not going to love it. That noise is going to be there constantly. All right, it is what it is. On the inside, guys, the property looks meh at best. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's look at the guts of this deal so we see what we could figure out. Location, location, location. Yeah, talk about it. This is an ideal covered land play in the heart of Allapattah, emerging west of Wynwood District. Yeah. All right, so he's selling this, right? And he's saying that it's a fourplex with 4 2-1s, that they're all leased and that each one of them is making at least $2,200. All right. Let's do a quick rent check, right? For a 2-1 in Miami-Dade. I think that that's right about, that's correct, all right? The median is around $2,300. You know, if he has them leased, I would just double check that they're not month to month, because given the quality of the product, I would expect that he's getting less than $2,200 and less than $2,250. That he's probably getting like $2,100 for these. Okay, but so double check that. Just make sure that they're long-term rents and that the tenants are on the up and up and they've been paying the rents on time. But apart from that, right? So he's saying that he's getting $8,900. The returns, if that's the case right now, are going to be 8.9%. Okay. Do I think that you could increase the rents here? I don't really think so. I think that, you know, unless you're going to pour in a lot of money into this project, $8,900, like he's already at market if that's the actual case. It doesn't look like he's in some sort of distress trying to sell this property, right? Let's look at these limited county records that we have and see if something comes up. No, nothing comes up. So what's a realistic price reduction? I think this is the same. You know, if you could reduce probably like 150K, bring this guy down to 1.2 mil, right? That's probably like what he would accept. And at that point, guys, you know, it starts making a little bit more sense. All of a sudden, instead of being a 1%, it's not a 0.6%, right? It's a 0.74, which anything above 0.7 starts making a little bit more sense for me. And you're actually pretty close to, I mean, a bank would lend you money on this, right? They would charge you a little bit more because they usually like to see rents being 125% of the mortgage. But that being said, right, the best returns that you might be able to get at this property, if you could reduce that price by 150K, and if those rents are accurate and long-term and they are paying on time, then the best return over the life of this property is going to be a 10.9%. So, right, it doesn't flunk, but I mean, it barely does better than the S&P, and just barely, right? So this would be a D for me, right? Like this would be a D tier property. So just based on the returns. So we're going to go ahead and discard this property and look at the next one. Down to our last three. This one is a $1.65 million fourplex in Miami-Dade. They're currently paying $13,600 a year in taxes. All right, square feet, 4,138 square feet. And they say that they're collecting actually $10,600 a month in rent. All right, and if that's the case, guys, you guys kind of saw a little bit of a sneak peek. But if, again, they are wanting 1.65 mil, then for it to be a 1% property, it would need to make $16,000 a month, right? And then this duplex right now, or this fourplex, is only making $10,000. We need it to make $16,000. So that's why you see a 6.64, 0.64 on the 1% rule. It's still in the red, right? Would it pay the mortgage? Barely. It would pay the mortgage, and then you would only have about 9% left over after that. And banks minimum want to see that the rents pay 110% of the mortgage. Okay, so you're close, but not quite there. Now let's take a look at the quality of the property and the deal and see if we can make more sense out of this. But right now, the best returns, by the way, are going to be an 8.9. Okay. And that's collecting 10.6K. All right, let's look at the quality of this property. It looks nice so far. I don't like flat roofs, but the property doesn't look bad. And do we get any pictures of the inside? Limited, but old. Okay. So let's take a look at the guts of the deal. See if we get a unit breakdown. A 3-2 renting for $3,100, okay? A 2-1 renting for $2,600, right? A 2-1 renting for $2,400, and another 2-1 renting for $2,500. All right, and that makes up to $10,600. Now, let's do a quick rent check because this seems a little bit outlandish, right? A 3-2 getting $3,100 in. By the way, we're in Miami Dade, right? The median is $3,000. Can he get $3,100? Yeah, okay, maybe I could believe that. But this is where it gets a little bit interesting. He's saying that the 2-1s that he's renting them for up to $2,600. The median rents for a 2-1 in Miami Dade are $2,300. I find it really difficult that he's renting this kind of quality product out for $2,600. The reason is that because for another $400, you could rent out an apartment in a condo in downtown, in a nice condo with amenities. So I kind of like, if he says that he's collecting this amount of money, we might take him for it. 1.65 again. Oh no, that's this property, right? But I think that more than likely, given the quality of the property, he's getting less than the median, right? So he's probably with good tenants, $2,900. I think that for the 2-1 here, you could maybe get like another $2,100, and I think that that's the same case for all the other 2-1s. And I think that the real returns for this property, if you actually looked at the market, is probably close to, well, the rents are going to be $9,200, right? And that would mean that your returns are 6.9%. Okay. Now I think that you could probably negotiate about $150K off his price, bringing him again down to about 1.5 before this guy got like insulted or whatever. And at that point, again, it would barely make sense, right? You would, if you knocked off 150K, your best return there would be a 7.8. And so either way, guys, whether he's being truthful about the rents or not, it just doesn't make sense, right? If he's not being truthful about the rents, the return there would be 9%, less than 9%. And the way that it's, the way that it currently is, even if you dropped 150K, would be 7.8% with the rents where I think that they would actually fall. So for that reason, guys, we're going to go ahead and discard this property as well. We're down to the last two properties. All right, these look attractive, so let's see what's in store for us. 650K, 650. It's a duplex in Broward County. They're currently paying in taxes $10,752 a year in taxes. Square feet, 1,755. They don't tell us what flood zone or what rents they're collecting, so we're gonna have to figure that out on our own. All right, but let's put this at 0. And let's look at the quality of the product. So it's got a pool. It looks like it's got wood siding. Maybe it's, hopefully it's on top of like the concrete block, but the insides look gorgeous. Whoa, that bathroom is not cool. Dude, where'd you pick out? And like this kind of tile is usually more expensive, the one with like the little gold looking inlay. But like, dude, it just doesn't go well with like a plastic liner. Yeah. And at least try to match them, They kind of tried. All right. So it's got its pluses and minuses, guys. It almost feels like a single family home. Let's look at the guts of this deal, see what we can figure out. Prime investment in Hollywood featuring a versatile 3-bedroom, 2-bath property with a pool on a blah, 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 blah. All right. So it's a 1-1 and a 2-1. Let's make sure that it's actually a multifamily. No, and this is not. It's a single family home that they're trying to pass off as being multifamily. All right. Single family home. Yeah, it's got 1 unit. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're not even going to analyze this, guys, because this is a 3-1 that they kind of like chopped. All right. So this property does not make it. Red flag all over the place, right? So we're going to go ahead and discard this one. And we're down to our real last property. Let's see. Hopefully they're not lying about this one too. $755,000. Okay. In Broward County, they're currently paying $11,031 a year in taxes. Square feet, 2,211 square feet. They're saying that they're only collecting $5,000 a month in rent. Let's see if maybe they're charging less in the market. Let's look at the quality of the product first. It looks nice. Okay, so there you have it, 1 bedroom, the main house, studio apartment. So this looks like it's another single family home that is being marketed as a multifamily. Maybe I'm wrong, but they're saying it's a triplex actually. Okay, but it's a multifamily. It does say it's a multifamily. 3 units, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, but it's 3 units. Interesting. Okay. So they say it's a studio, a 1-1, and a 2-1. Okay. So they say that the 2-1 makes $2,100, that the 1-1 makes $1,700, and that the studio makes $1,200, giving you the $5,000 a month. All right. Now, do I think right off the bat, this barely pays the mortgage? A bank would not lend you money on this, and it's below the 70% of the 1% rule that we like to be at. Okay. And the returns here would be a 7.6% at best. Let's write this down, guys. So the last multifamily is 755, right? And then this one was a what? It's a triplex in Broward, making $5,000 a month. And the returns here are 7.6%. All right, well, let's do a quick rent check here, guys, because they say that there's a 2-1, right? The 2-1s in Broward County, the median rent is $1,960. So could he get $2,100? Yeah, it's feasible. Okay, the property does look okay, but I mean, $2,100 seems a little, right, a little high, and that's because they're renting it on a month to month. So I want to say that like this property looks average, and I want to give them then the median rents, which would be $1,960. Okay, he says that there's a 1-1 that rents for $1,700. I think that the reality of it is $1,600. And last, he says that there's a studio renting for $1,200, and I'm just gonna give it to him. I'm gonna say that that's fair, okay? Although I do think it's high, it's probably more close to $1,100. All right, so I think that the real rents for this property are actually $4,660, which means that the returns are way lower at 6.6%, okay? But we could probably decrease the price here. I want to say like some 70K, so we could bring this down like 75K down to, so if we reduce 75K from this, we could say equals that minus 75, 1, 2, 3, right? Which leaves us at 680, okay? So if we reduce 75K, but with the real rents, right, it leaves us basically where we started at 7.6%. So for that reason, guys, this property is another fail. The best property today was that $1.35 million fourplex in Miami Dade, right? And the best returns that you could get there are 10.9, which just barely beat the S&P, and it's not really enough for income producing property that we're looking for. We're looking for good returns. We're looking for 14, 13 is, like, okay, but we're looking for 14, 15, we're looking above 20, right? We want to make more than 20% return on our investment over the life of the property, okay? Because otherwise, then why get into this whole game of like learning how to deal with tenants, property issues, vendors, negotiations, all this stuff, if you could just sit, on your couch and collect 10% from the S&P. So for that reason, guys, no good deal today. But hopefully tomorrow being Sunday, maybe there's some good deals out there. So stay tuned and we'll check that out. See you guys. Have a